The story kicks off in a super shady spot, dripping with a heavy "you're gonna have a bad time" vibe. In a totally wrecked reality, humanity is constantly taking LS, struggling with food shortages, prejudice, and just trying to keep breathing. Right in the middle of this brutal mess, our MC raises his weapon, feeling the heavy burden of standing on the dirt his nation calls home. He knows full well that all this tragedy is happening simply because his people lack the power to defend themselves. At that moment, gunshots echo non-stop and aggressively across the battlefield. Sadly, during the clash, our fighter gets cheap-shotted from behind. Hitting the ground defeated, he realizes his run ended the exact same second his country also crumbled. As his vision totally fades to black, the young guy silently accepts his painful game over. But out of nowhere, his eyes snap open as he spots a massive glowing light. Next thing you know, he reaches out to touch this mysterious energy just hovering in the air. With pure determination, he actually manages to grab the brightness with his own fingers. Right then, an overwhelming energy covers him completely, bringing him back for round 2. When he finally gets his senses back, he notices he's been teleported to a totally peaceful and different reality. He's been living in this new world for 3 years, just taking in the chill vibes of the place while looking out a high school window. While fixing his tie, Pluto realizes he just scored a massive second chance and decides today is the day to fix his track record. Inside the classroom, the teacher tries to calm the students down, since the highly anticipated awakening ceremony day is finally here. Super hyped, he tells everyone to head to the sports field for the big event. This is the make or break moment for everyone's future, as reality was drastically changed when gates opened up bringing wild beasts. To face this danger, humans started awakening abilities ranked in various tiers of power. At the end of the day, the class a person gets is literally the only thing society cares about. Outside, Luna just revealed a top-tier power, which everyone kinda expected since she's the heir to the family running the city. The students are blown away by her insane score, proving that high numbers guarantee massive strength. Right after, it's Pluto's turn, making some classmates anxious while others are just confused about who he even is. With a bossy voice, the teacher calls him up to the stage. Walking with pure confidence, he's famous for having the highest talent rate out of all the schools in the area. On his way up, Pluto walks right past Luna without even flinching. She stares him down and tells him not to let her down right now. He, however, stays quiet and just keeps walking, keeping his usual unbothered attitude. The crowd starts chanting his name the second he gets close to the evaluation center. Ready to go, he places his hand on the glowing orb to show off his true potential. The school teacher is flexing hard, knowing that having the world's only prodigy with such a high index is an absolute jackpot. They remember that the most highly coveted spots are already saved for the kid. He just needs to awaken a top-tier class to secure the bag. This government academy is straight up the most powerful and imposing one in the whole country. Getting in means securing crazy power, clout, and the respect any pro dreams of. In Pluto's eyes, the real perk is that this faction acts as the nation's main military force. He flashes back to his past life, where he was just a soldier from a weak territory that got wiped off the map by enemy forces. Determined to rewrite his future, he swears to become the absolute strongest to protect both himself and his new country. Right then, the orb reacts by blasting a colossal wave of energy, convincing everyone that his score is going to be off the charts. The MC stares at the light, curious about the sheer amount of magic pulsing in his palm. Around him, Luna and the teacher watch the whole thing completely jaw-dropped at the size of the glow. However, the system screen finally drops his class, slapping him with the shady title of Necromancer. Purple skeleton-shaped magic circles the guy, confirming his new powers are linked to the afterlife. Pure silence takes over the yard as the dark energy floats dramatically above him. The crowd is split, some think it's wild, while others quickly point out that this is universally known as the weakest, most useless class ever. Shocked, Pluto drops his head, trying to figure out what he did wrong to get such a garbage result on his big day. The holographic screen shows his starting stats are rock bottom, confirming his new status as a bottom-tier fighter. Watching the scene, the teacher crosses his arms in frustration, grumbling about getting his hopes up for absolutely nothing. Pluto's disappointment hits harder when he realizes his main summoning skill has crazy strict time limits. But wait, brand new messages start popping up on the interface, dropping the bomb that all the limits on his spells have been totally removed. He quickly realizes the monumental buff he just got, noticing he can now use all his health to spawn an instant squad. Looking ahead, he knows this is just the tutorial phase of a devastating power that will snowball as he levels up. Unlocked and buffed, his bony boys are going to be an unstoppable force on any battlefield. Locked in, he figures he has the raw power to literally become a one-man army. Hyped, he clenches his fist, convinced that this one cheat code is enough to wreck any top-tier prodigy that steps to him. Having zero chill left, the teacher snaps at him to snap out of it and leave the stage right now. Turning his back, the young guy thinks it's hilarious how fast everyone switched up on him just because of his new rank. Knowing his goal, he decides it's time to hit the dungeons to grind levels and get overpowered. Some classmates watch him leave and think his confidence is super weird. Guessing the trash results actually broke his brain. Right then, a green-haired student walks up acting smug, trying to poke the former prodigy. Flexing his own test success, the arrogant kid offers to help, but only if Pluto becomes his sidekick, basically trying to bully him. Not giving him the time of day, the MC recognizes the troll as Adrian, remembering how insanely jealous the guy always was. Meanwhile, the rival and his goon are cracking up, thinking it'd be epic to have the school's genius acting as their pet. Brushing off the trash talk, Pluto just walks past them, figuring it's a waste of breath to argue with bottom feeders. Furious about getting ghosted, Adrian grinds his teeth, super salty about the dude's indifference. Keeping his cool walk going, the guy runs into Luna waiting for him on the sidewalk outside. Not wanting to chat, he tells her he's out of patience for games and just wants to bounce. But she drops a straight-up offer, saying she'll carry him through monster hunts and help him level up in fights. He asks if carrying a low-level scrub wouldn't be a huge drag for an elite warrior, but the girl shuts that idea down instantly. Stepping closer all excited, she swears she still believes in him and that with her help, he'll make it into the top guild. Looking at her genuine smile, Pluto respects how smart and loyal she actually is. Very politely, he thanks her for being cool and trying to help him out during this rough patch. Then he smoothly turns down the offer, moving her hand away to show he's taking the solo route. Determined to flex his true potential, he states he's going straight to the top using only his own grind. The only way to bypass his trash class status is by hoarding massive battle experience to gap the other rookies. Soon enough, he reaches the school's massive dungeon hub, laser-focused on entering combat trials to level up and leave the competition in the dust. Ignoring the haters, the young guy walks calmly through the school halls toward the trial gates. Soon he stops in front of a red back-to-back challenge rift, where the mobs get progressively stronger and entering means going in totally so. Usually only elite tryhards or dudes with a respawn wish go in there, but he knows the lethal danger drops an insane amount of XP. Outside, Luna runs up looking frantic, bringing along the special class instructor, asking in disbelief if that was really her classmate walking into the rift. The teacher confirms it, totally shocked, saying the kid just walked into the hard mode test, guessing the bad score made him crazy enough to rush a game over screen. Stressing out over the situation, the girl gets super anxious, while the teacher tries to chill her out, pointing out the kid was never the type to just give up. Still, the woman plays it safe, saying she'll stay on standby outside to call for backup if things go sideways in there. Meanwhile, inside the rift, the map is just a massive floating island in the middle of nowhere, wrapped in mysterious energy and packed with threats. The MC scopes the place out calmly, noticing he spawned in the safe zone, the only chill spot before the real test kicks off. He takes a deep breath, knowing the second he steps forward and triggers aggro, the exit button disappears. Taking one step forward, he immediately runs into a whole pack of level 1 wild dogs, realizing right away that all the mobs here are hostile. At this point, he gets why seeing 10 beasts on floor 1 is exactly why newbies avoid this place like the plague. Without blinking, the young guy spawns his bony soldiers for the first time, using a bit of his magic health to test out his new squad against the mutts. The undead rush the pack of animals, following their boss' strict order to focus down the frontline enemies. Right then, one of the skulls lands a clean hit on a monster, showing that the opening fight is already totally in the necromancer's pocket. Looking at the easy dub and the XP pop-up on his screen, Pluto gets hyped, realizing this is going to be a breeze as long as he can spam summons. While walking through the combat zone with his minion, he starts laughing at the irony of once being the most hyped genius in the whole school. With that, he clenches his glowing fist, remembering how fast his clout tanked, turning him into the school's biggest joke. The guy remembers the disappointed looks from the principal and the teacher, recalling how rudely he got kicked out right after the event. While his goons keep wiping out the shadow dogs like it's nothing, his mana slowly drains to keep the speedrun going. Soon his brain hits a flashback of that smug rival trying to put him down, demanding to be called master just for getting a higher score. That trash memory merges with one from his past life, where a tyrant also looked down on him, calling his nation a garbage species that wasn't even worth capturing. Going full edgelord mode, he realizes the prep school kid's arrogant face looks exactly like that old tyrant's. He makes a promise to himself that he'll never get stepped on again and that he's taking the #1 spot, no matter what rank he is now. Taking advantage of the short breather, the guy spreads his energy across the room, raising 10 spooky fighters at once to build an absolute meat shield. The tactician figures that maxing out his current cap of 10 units will be more than enough to full clear this starting floor. He drops the perfect command, making sure every enemy beast gets double-teamed by his boys. The play works flawlessly right away, and the shadow pets get absolutely steamrolled by the skeleton squad's numbers in seconds. As the easy wins keep rolling in, the system won't stop pinging with XP gains, proving his strat is broken. Super happy with the massive drops from every down mob, the guy excitedly calculates he'll hit the next power tier in just a few minutes. Casually checking his stats, he sees his magic passively regenerating, meaning a quick AFK break is all he needs to get back to full power. The clanking sounds from his minions make the young guy daydream about a near future, where he's leading a massive, unbeatable army. Not giving the enemies a second to breathe, he raises his hand and drops a savage order, telling his troops to rush the next target hard. Instantly, another angry dog gets folded, unable to block the clean hits, feeding another huge chunk of XP into the bank. Right after, a crazy bright energy wraps around his whole body, signaling a level up that happened way faster than he thought. The system interface shows the level up handed out some sweet stat points in mana region, making it the perfect time to drop more allies into the mosh pit. Looking at the floating stat screen, the guy knows magic is the bread and butter of his class, itching to dump all his bonus points straight into it. Feeling refreshed and limits broken, he gets super confident seeing his mini squad can now hold up to 15 units on the field at once. The dark mage gives a dead-eyed stare and says in a cold voice that the real grind starts right now on the next trial floor. On the new map, the armored skulls waste zero time and jump straight into a brawl with giant wolves, securing fast and juicy wins. Chilling behind a tactical shield wall, he notes the beasts hit harder now, keeping in mind his own squishy build means he can't afford to slip up during the chaos. Suddenly, the level-up light blasts over him again, making him cheer about how ridiculously easy it is to farm stats solo in here. So the pop-up confirms his new power boost, focusing on the magic scaling he desperately needed to spam minions without a care. The young guy feels totally fulfilled, happily realizing he found the infinite loop. Fast clears give levels, and levels give bigger armies. Moving into the grassy areas of the arena, horse-like mobs start spawning, showing the trial is definitely cranking up the heat. The vibe of the room gets a bit heavier as the new shadow enemies start making noise. Not even sweating the size of the buff horses, the guy tells his skeletons to rush in, treating the monsters like absolute fodder. Crashing into them head-on, the undead lands a solid hit on the beast, showing off a super coordinated and heavy-hitting combo. Punishing the opening, the blades finish the job fast, turning the scary beast into just another fat loot drop for the kid's account. In the middle of the heavy trades, the guy notices one of his units got shattered by the mobs, proving the danger level is definitely going up. Still, the mage is overflowing with confidence and doesn't even care about the lost unit, since he's now rocking a massive army of 30 monsters on command. The skeleton crew pushes forward like an absolute tidal wave, overwhelming the horses through focus group attacks that sweep the floor. Thanks to the speedrun clear, a heavy energy swallows his body again, boosting his strength significantly, while a notification says a new limit was broken. The young guy celebrates hard with his eyes glued to the glowing alert, seeing that the system totally deleted his evolution caps. The newly unlocked skill drops a crazy broken perk, letting his troops absorb any defeated enemy and turn them into shadowy clones. He immediately grasps how busted this perk is, drooling over the idea that his squad will just keep getting stronger and more diverse as the wins stack up. The guy's aura gets overwhelming, making him feel like an absolute boss ruling over this whole monster territory. Another class feature catches his eye on the screen, showing a brand new ability that turns his skulls into literal walking AoE bombs. This new talent looks incredibly busted, making the MC super eager to test the explosion the second a beefy enemy spawns. Right on cue, the 5th floor drops massive beastly boars, totally blocking the path, looking all majestic. The thick armor on these new mobs makes the guy realize standard melee would take forever, making this the perfect test drive for the suicide bombers. With a stylish snap of his fingers, he triggers the morph command, instantly making fire engulf his minion's head. Hyped by the edgy visual, he orders the soldier to sprint while carrying 2 heavy barrels straight at the wild beast's faces. The clumsy run of his flaming minion leaves the guy speechless for a second, just watching the goofy animation. A little embarrassed, he facepalms at how goofy the spell looks, but decides to let it slide as long as the damage output is worth it. Ignoring the aesthetics, the fire minion does an acrobatic flip and tosses the payload right in the middle of the giant enemies waiting for him. The sketchy package lands perfectly, planting itself right under the angry boar's nose, giving it zero time to dodge. Because of that, a massive wave of fire totally nukes the area, kicking up dust and wiping everything out in a colossal blast radius. The young guy covers his face from the insane heat wave, amazed by the tech and learning firsthand never to judge a book by its cover. When the smoke clears, he calmly checks his mana, realizing Hell desperately needs some mana gear if he wants to spam this strat. He leaves the crater behind, a bit bummed that there's no loot on the ground, guessing this game mode is strictly for XP farming. As soon as he walks through the portal back to the chill school halls, the guy decides he's hitting the weapon shops, hoping the prices aren't an absolute joke. Right then, the elite class teacher almost passes out from shock, totally jaw-dropped seeing he survived the lethal trial without a scratch and power-leveled like crazy. The lady can't even process it right and figures the kid's low score was hiding a god-tier talent, deciding to sprint and snitch to the principal ASAP. In his office, the head of the school is grumbling about having too much paperwork, angrily asking why she's bursting in right after exams ended. The stressed-out principal mutters, asking why the teacher is bothering him over a bottom-tier student when they just drafted a bunch of top-tier prospects. Ignoring his bad mood, she excitedly drops that the necromancer kid went into the endless trial at level 0 and hit stage 5 in just 1 hour. Stunned, the admin calls Cap, saying a rookie of that class wouldn't last 5 minutes against a pack of shadow mobs. Keeping a dead serious face, the teacher asks him how the kid pulled off such a glitch-level stunt then. Outside the shops, Pluto notices the magic gear is insanely overpriced, realizing his only play is to grind more dungeons for loot drops. Walking into the gate lobby, the MC overhears some hunters talking about a full squad getting wiped, proving the Rhino Peak run is crazy dangerous. Unfazed by the warning, he locks in the level 5 rift and picks the gold difficulty right off the bat to limit test himself. The second he steps onto the rocky map, the guy spawns his bone squad while taking in the sick view of the zone. With energy glowing in his hand, he focuses strictly on speedrunning the zone boss and taking all the loot he can carry. Pumped that his mana is back to full, the young mage tells his battalion to rush in at max speed, knowing his army will just keep growing infinitely. The undead charge the rock beasts, and the guy sees he can clear the room with basically 0 casualties. Punishing an opening, one of the fighters lands a critical hit on the Rhino, securing a fast win and another 50 points to the stash. Suddenly, another angry beast lets out a roar, tagging into the brawl. The massive rock Rhino charges hard right into the front lane of his spooky squad. Watching the clash, Pluto notices his troops' physical hits are hitting like wet noodles against the beast's crazy high defense. Prepping his fire spell, the young guy confidently smirks, saying he doesn't just spam one button in fights. Instantly, he turns his minion into a bomb skull, which immediately leapfrogs forward, hugging a flaming barrel. A massive explosion hits the monster dead-on, bagging 100 evolution points for the guy. Happy with the damage, the MC decides to turn his entire squad into walking nukes to completely shred the enemy's armor. The strat is absolutely broken, causing a chain reaction of explosions that deletes the beast from the server in seconds. Grinding so much XP, he hits level 6 and figures killing the boss will be enough to ding again. Right then, a terrifying aura fills the cave, revealing the absolute unit of a boss, the Rock Rhino King. The giant beast lets out a screen-shaking roar that echoes all over the map. Shocked by the size of the threat, the young guy quickly dashes back, admitting he wasn't expecting such a massive boss this early on the 5th floor. But he snaps back to his cold, gamer mindset instantly, staring the boss. The guy smirks, telling the beast it already walked into his trap, revealing he has almost 100 explosive undead boys waiting to jump him. A massive nuke deletes the boss instantly, clearing the threat and dropping 5,000 XP on the spot. Hyped about hitting level 7, he mentions he hoarded troops all the way here and is actually surprised he one-shot the boss before it could even move. As the fire fades, a magic staff is left stuck in the ground among the rubble. The system UI shows the stats of the new drop, highlighting some sweet buffs to magic and defense. Super stoked about the loot, the young guy celebrates his insane RNG for getting such a cracked item this early on. He remembers that gear tiers are color-coded, and the higher the tier, the harder the drop rate. Checking his crazy luck, he gets hyped over pulling an epic magic-focused weapon on his literally first run. Gripping the staff tight, the guy calculates he just saved at least 100 gold coins with this drop. Checking his new stats, he sighs in relief at the extra armor and dumps all his level-up points straight into his magic stat. With his mana pool boosted, he gives a sharp look, realizing he can now summon and hold up to 75 units on the field. Heading back to the lobby, the young guy casually walks through the crowded halls of the building. But the annoying troll Adrian steps in his way with a snarky tone, saying his carry offer is still on the table if he begs for it. Keeping his cool, Pluto just stares the hater down in silence, getting super annoyed by the spam. Thinking the MC hasn't leveled at all, the arrogant kid trash-talks him, saying he's probably crying for a party, calling his class pure garbage. Flexing his own pay-to-win gear, the bully tells the guy to be his pet if he wants free weapons and carries. Making it worse, the guy's lackeys jump in on the bullying, telling him to just hold the L so he doesn't get left behind. One of the pick-me girls laughs cruelly, saying the shadow mage is so gross that no one would willingly party up with him. Out of patience with the clown show, the MC steps up with a dark look and drops one final warning. Looking him dead in the eyes, he tells the rich kid to get lost and mind his own business. Triggered by the disrespect, the preppy kid aggressively grabs the MC's tie, daring him to say it again. Before it turns into a brawl, the building's security squad steps in, strictly reminding them that fighting in the safe zone means jail time. Startled by the sudden pop-up, everyone steps back and looks at the hall monitors. The security guard in shades walks up demanding to know what the heck is going on here. Trying to hide the beef, the bully puts his hands up in caps, claiming they're just old school buddies messing around. The guard doesn't buy the excuse and tells them to enter the rifts or get out, while the arrogant kid mutters a quick threat. Walking past the MC, the smug guy promises his luck is going to run out the second he leaves the safe zone. With that, the toxic squad walks off toward the dungeons, loudly bragging about hitting level 5 today. The necromancer watches them go, coldly calculating that he would have sent the guy to the lobby if the guards hadn't shown up. The guard tells the kid not to lose his cool over trolls like that, offering to step in if they bother him again, and gets a chill thanks in return. When the guy starts walking toward a red rift, the guard calls him back, telling him to wait because that map is way too hard for a rookie. Suddenly, the guard drops his shades, completely mind-blown when he recognizes the weapon in the kid's hand. Standing at the terminal, the MC adjusts the dungeon settings, locked in to burn all his daily entries on grinding. The guard starts sweating bullets, realizing that rare staff only drops if you beat the peak boss on the hardest difficulty. While the dude stands there completely stunned by the kid's skill, the mage walks confidently through the glowing portal to get his reps in. Leading his overpowered army of the dead, the kid decides to speedrun the hunt to clear all his dailies fast. Outside, the guard stares at the wildly glowing portal, terrified as he realizes the kid actually queued up for max difficulty. Totally shook by the reveal, the guard figures the kid pulled off a glitch-level feat that not even the top tiers can do solo. Back on the battlefield, the Rhino boss stares at the mage's bomb strat without even realizing what's about to hit him. Wearing an incredibly toxic smirk, the MC mocks the boss's courage for trying to face-tank his demolition squad. With zero mercy, a massive nuke wipes the map and deletes the boss instantly, burning one of his daily entries. In the next run, another boss blows a heavy gust of wind right at the young guy. Striking an unbothered pose, he sarcastically sighs that these mobs just never learn their lesson. With a quick command, another fire trap vaporizes the wild enemy in literally seconds. Focused on the grind, he tells his minions to keep rushing, as the UI pops up showing he only has one entry left. The final giant boss hits the floor, officially full clearing the hardcore trial for that zone. Checking his full inventory, the kid notices he pulled a bunch of expensive weapons, deciding to vendor all of them since they're useless for a mage build. Walking out of the exit portal, he stretches his back feeling good, planning to get some sleep before the official rookie evaluation tomorrow. The stat screen glows bright, celebrating his win of hitting level 9 with a super fat mana pool. The next morning, the entrance to Aurora Academy is absolutely packed and buzzing with hype for the big evaluation day. In the middle of the hyped crowd, students are nervously talking about how the Azure Dragon Guild sent scouts to watch the rookies, knowing that popping off today means a guaranteed golden ticket for the future. Strolling through the yard, the guy overhears some randoms trash-talking his allegedly garbage lab. Right on cue, the annoying Adrian blocks his path with another toxic remark, sarcastically asking how the pathetic life of a necromancer is going. The rival flexes that he grinded all day to hit level 5, asking if the guy finally found someone to carry him in the dungeons. Before things get ugly, an academy rep steps up to the podium, telling everyone to quiet down for the official start of the event. He explains that the top 5 students will get drafted by the elite guild, and first place gets a rare drop as a bonus. The news gets the students incredibly hyped, since this is the exact chance everyone was praying for to go viral. Right after, the teacher introduces the legendary sage Aaron Crowley, one of the most busted hunters around, famous for having an infinite mana glitch. The rules are simple: everyone goes into a solo instance, and the sage will spawn mobs infinitely, scoring 1 point per kill for 30 minutes. The absolute unit of a veteran flexes his crazy aura, making it clear this test isn't going to be a walk in the park for the newbies. Freaking out, some kids start panicking, remembering the guy is over level 70, thinking they won't even last against one beast. But the sage chills everyone out, promising he's capping the mobs at level 1 and will pull out anyone who taps out. Hearing that, the vibe shifts back to confident, and they start getting pumped to go all out without worrying about getting actually sent to the lobby. Seizing the moment, Adrian brags that he's taking the number 1 spot easy, promising to humble the MC right after. But Pluto doesn't even blink and just gives him a dead stare, saying there's no need to wait since he's ready to end his career right here, right now. To make things more interesting, the Necromancer drops a 1v1 bet to see who ends up higher on the leaderboard when the timer hits 0. Thinking the bet is an absolute joke, the rival laughs out loud, mocking the kid's delusion for even trying to compete. Getting right in his face, the young guy asks if he still thinks he's an untouchable god, telling him to name the loser's punishment. Spitting mad, Adrian declares the loser has to crawl on the floor and bark like a dog forever, which the MC accepts instantly. At that exact second, the principal's voice blasts over the speakers, officially kicking off the rookie tournament. All the players are instantly warped into massive, isolated arenas inside the school. Watching from the admin room, the boss tells the veteran that the players are loaded in and the spawn event can start. Without wasting a second, the veteran claps his hands and drops a massive wave of energy, proving exactly why he's the vice master of a top-tier guild. Glowing circles pop up on the floor of every room, showing the teleport and spawn network is online and flawless. Solo in his arena, the kid watches the light beams start taking physical shapes around him. Right away, bronze soldiers spawn in holding spears, ready to aggro the student. Totally chill, Pluto unleashes his shadow energy and drops his bony boys to limit test the armor on these new mobs. The living statues don't hesitate and rush in as a squad, aiming their sharp swords right at him. On the other side, the spooky battalion follows the attack order and charges hard, swinging shields and heavy axes. The clash between the two front lines is brutal, making a crazy loud metallic crash the exact second the weapons connect. Reading the fight perfectly, the guy notices the metal statues are pretty squishy and would only be an issue if his mana pool was low. In the control room, the sage is super shocked to see someone just wiped out 5 beasts in a split second, deciding to crank up the spawn rate. On the veteran's call, more lights flash in the MC's room, dropping more mobs to box him in from all sides. Even though they're surrounded, the Bone Warriors rush in without a second thought and absolutely fold the metal enemies like paper. Watching how free the fight is, the guy figures using just one shield bro for every 2 enemies keeps the clear time fast and totally under control. Seeing 10 sculptures get deleted instantly, the veteran caster is genuinely amazed by the clear speed. The principal is super proud of his roster, thinking it's wild that a rookie actually managed to impress the legendary master. Curious to see who the Smurf is, the teacher asks to put the live leaderboard on the main screen right away. Seeing the name sitting at rank 1, the principal freezes, totally flabbergasted by what he's looking at. The glowing screen shows Pluto's name miles ahead in first place with 15 takedowns, leaving everyone else completely in the dust. Making the staff even more mind-blown, the teacher points out his score is literally going up every single second. The number on the board jumps to 23 points in a flash, proving the kid is running an absolute slaughterhouse in there. Completely speechless, the principal can't wrap his head around how the universally recognized garbage class is speedrunning the tournament so easy. The teachers start arguing, saying it should be physically impossible for the kid to bypass his class's cooldowns, even if his base stats are cracked. Rubbing his chin, the sage remembers that back in his rookie days, he cleared the test with almost 100 wins, guessing this kid is a future legend. Hyped to see what the kid can really do, the old hunter decides to stat check him, flooding the arena with way denser magic. Meanwhile, the MC thinks the map is super boring, figuring these soldiers are way weaker than the rock beasts. Suddenly, the whole room flashes as a ridiculously massive wave of mobs drops in. This time, hundreds of giant metal warriors spawn in fully armed, blocking literally every single exit in the locked room. Looking at the bronze army, the young guy gets curious, pretty impressed by the ridiculous mob density around him. Seeing the statue count keep going up, he realizes the admin got a little too excited and made the room completely toxic. But he quickly figures he has the perfect cheat code if the goal is to win by having a bigger army. With mana to spare, he summons 30 spooky fighters at the exact same time, ready to see which army actually hits harder. Far away in the rival's room, the clear rate is way slower, with him having to sweat to take down every single statue. Thinking he's popping off for clearing a small wave, the kid smirks, assuming the shadow mage will never catch up to his score. Mid-fight, his mind drifts back to exam day, when his genius score gave him a massive ego trip. That day, he flexed super hard seeing he broke the 77 points mark, locking in a top-tier stat for his resume. But his whole parade got rained on the exact second Pluto's score popped on the screen, hitting a clean 200 points. The memory of the whispers in the room and the shocked faces of the whole school still makes his blood boil with pure jealousy. It was on that cursed day he realized the MC's natural talent just auto-placed him at the absolute top of the country. Another horrible memory hits him, the teachers telling the top-tier kids to grind harder just to catch up to the prodigy. That pressure of always being second place to a guy branded as low-class bred, a super toxic hatred in him over the years. Being second in line for a filthy rich family, he always had the world handed to him, only accepting being outscaled by his own brother. Raging out, he screams that it's absolute BS to expect a rich kid to play catch-up with some broke orphan. Letting out his pent-up rage, he rushes in and drops a heavy combo to delete another mob in the room. Full of himself, the kid promises his DPS class will sweep the leaderboard, telling his rival to start practicing his dog barks for the bet. But his own UI shows he only got 15 takedowns so far, a pretty mid-score compared to his ego. Back in Pluto's arena, the massacre goes hard, with his troops slicing through the metal boys like butter. With a clean swing, another statue's head gets sent flying, proving the bony weapons are actually cracked. Chilling on top of a pile of bronze scrap, the guy is already flexing an insane 100 eliminations on the floating screen. Checking the damage report, he sees a bunch of his units got wrecked, admitting that losing troops is just the tax for fighting a mob wave this huge. Knowing the risk, he respawns his minions fast, keeping his turtle formation tight in case more mobs drop from the ceiling out of nowhere. Seeing his mana pool cut in half, the young guy gets pretty confused about this weird difficulty spike in the test. In the monitor room, the teachers are literally panicking, realizing the kid wiped 100 enemies before the timer even hit the halfway mark. Chilling in his chair, the veteran mage notes with pure awe that nuking that many mobs at once is basically the same as soloing a high-tier boss. Leaning on his staff, the veteran mutters, feeling a bit salty, guessing the kid is trying to style on him in front of the staff. With that, the master unleashes a massive blue aura, terrifying the admins who feel the crazy amount of mana he's pulling. The school director freaks out, knowing this whole situation is starting to totally derail. Sweating, one of the teachers asks if keeping the mobs alive for all the players is draining too much of the sage's mana. The principal clarifies that spawning 10,000 low-tier beasts is literally nothing for him, leaving everyone confused about what the real problem is. The real issue is the old man got way too hyped and dumped a completely broken amount of mobs straight into the first place's arena. While the teachers are sweating bullets thinking the kid is doomed, Pluto just hits a crazy grin at the insane difficulty spike. Staring down the absolute ocean of bronze mobs, the kid jokes, asking what he even did to pull the aggro of the entire server. Since the AFK skeleton farm strat isn't gonna cut it anymore, the young guy decides it's time to stop holding back. With a snap of his fingers, he casually activates his hidden trick, turning his shield bros into literal walking nukes. Instantly, the dark spell triggers, morphing the armored skulls into bombers holding explosive payloads. The flaming squad rushes furiously at the metal army, running wild straight into the enemy frontline. Keeping the toxic energy up, the mage drops the ultimate command, telling them to blow absolutely everything on the map to pieces. Without hesitating, the bomber minions leap right into the center of the mob pack, leaving them zero room to dodge. Full-on panicking, the director begs the veteran to cancel the spawns immediately, saying they can't risk game-overing a genius because of a lag spike. Ignoring the absolute chaos around him, the old master is just glued to the monitor, locked in on the gameplay. He raises a hand telling them to chill, but the boss yells that if they wait one more minute, the kid is going to get trampled. Right then, one of the supervisors aggressively points at the main scoreboard to get everyone's attention. The leaderboard numbers start glitching out, jumping up dozens of ranks in split seconds non-stop. The principal is completely stunned, trying to process that this rookie actually has the raw talent to carry the whole country if he gets the right coaching. Even though the teacher is begging to end the match, the veteran says he wants to see the kid's absolute limit before pulling the plug. Back in the arena, a massive nuke swallows almost the entire room, wiping out hundreds of targets instantly. The blasts chain react wildly across the map, with minions constantly jumping into the metal squad. The massive statues are completely turned to dust by the fire before they can even get their shields up. Walking through the thick smoke, the young guy looks at the scrap and thinks it's wild that a few of those things didn't get one shot. Not feeling like dragging the fight out, he coldly tells his fighters to go in and clean up the leftovers. Hitting the 1,000 takedowns milestone, the kid checks the crater around him and sarcastically wonders if he overdid it a bit. In the control room, the teachers notice it got dead quiet and are shocked to see the kid's score finally stopped moving. The old master's jaw drops, admitting the score stopped because the mage literally wiped the entire server clean. Super hyped, the staff asks if they should bring the VIP straight to the old man's office, but the veteran shoots that idea down fast. The blunt answer leaves the admin super confused, not getting why he'd pass up on a draft pick this broken. Striking a super serious pose, the veteran mage announces he's going straight into the arena himself to meet the kid. He walks right to the teleport pad, completely ignoring the warnings that the other players are still in their matches. Not caring about the rookies, the sage promises his fast travel won't crash the mob spawns in the other rooms. As the teleport energy wraps him, he geeks out, realizing the student's power level breaks every scanner they have. The light beam crashes down right in the middle of the wrecked arena, showing the old man was in a huge rush to check his theory. Opposite of what the staff expected, the MC just takes a deep breath, glad to finally be done with that sweaty grind. Checking the scrap pile, he admits that fighting over 100 raging mobs without his walking nukes would have been a massive headache. Suddenly, the blue magic light flashes right behind him, making him groan, thinking the game just spawned another boss wave. Noticing only one dude is materializing in the light, he thinks it's super weird the game only sent a single mob this time. Relying on gamer instincts, the mage doesn't hesitate and orders his shadow units to surround the new target. The armored skeletons rush in perfectly synced, jumping aggressively with their weapons aimed right at the glowing dude. Right after spawning in, the master's eyes pop out and he shouts an admin command, telling the minions to drop the aggro instantly. The sharp blades freeze midair just inches from the veteran's face, who instantly recognizes the undead summons. Surprised to see who he almost sent to the lobby, the kid drops his fighting stance and asks why he got a surprise dev visit. Chilling out, the sage says only trash mages use those specific summons, which the young guy totally agrees with. Going into analysis mode, the veteran points out the main nerf. The class has a super harsh time limit for keeping summons alive. The kid starts sweating bullets the second the veteran points out the whole test was way longer than the class's hard-capped timer. Pressuring the student, the master demands to know how he managed to build such a massive army so fast. Totally cornered, the MC internally panics, debating if he should leak his actual cheat skills or make up a fake excuse. Reading the room, the caster cools off and says he just wants to know if that kind of broken power can actually be controlled. Driven by the goal of protecting his new home, the kid figures getting on this op guy's good side is the easiest carry. Deciding to put on a calculated flex, he raises his weapon and activates his skill, making sure to only show exactly what's needed. With that, a massive burst of purple energy explodes around the necromancer, taking over the room while the veteran watches closely. While the spooky units start spawning in the air, the young guy calmly lists all the supposed nerfs his class has. With the army fully formed, he recites the standard rules about timers and having to summon units one by one. But dropping a super confident smirk, the kid declares that literally none of those nerfs apply to his account. Pointing at his massive lined-up squad, he flexes that his undead are completely immune to any debuffs or timers. Hearing that crazy leak, the sage's eyes go wide, trying to process the absolute glitch of a spell with zero limits. Mind blown by what he just saw, the veteran grips his staff super hard, feeling the sheer aura of the kid. The master is absolutely amazed, realizing the kid can literally run a server-wiping immortal army all by himself, which the guy confirms straight up. Moved by the discovery, the caster thinks the rookie's value is literally off the charts, putting him in a tier of his own. Getting way too hyped, he grabs the student's hands and promises to funnel all the guild's resources into him to guarantee a cracked future. Saying he'll be back tomorrow, the master gets ready to log off, leaving the kid totally stunned since he just name-dropped the guild leader. As the light beam starts fading, the kid tilts his head a bit confused, thinking the teleport glitched out. But the mage just paused the animation to toss him a unique item, calling it a super rare freak. The young guy squints at the old, wrinkled hand, instantly realizing how insanely busted that tiny drop is. Flexing the golden key, the sage calmly asks if the prodigy has ever heard of the Blessing Rift. Resting his hand on his chin, the dark mage confirms he literally studied that exact zone during the Academy's lore classes. He perfectly remembers that the map scales to the player's level, dumping massive XP and way better loot. The only catch is that getting into this VIP zone requires exactly this key, which has a drop rate that is basically zero. Realizing how massive this is, the kid loses his cool and just freezes, not believing he's getting handed something so broken. Without saying a word, the veteran just gives a real, genuine smile, silently confirming the prodigy's gamer sense is spot on. The enchanted item is carefully handed over to the kid, glowing super bright to show off the insane buff he just got. Happy with the rookie's reaction, the top-tier boss finishes his fast travel, vanishing smoothly into the light. Gripping the magic key tight, Pluto plans to charge it up and hit the VIP portal the second the event is over. Right then, the teacher's voice blasts through the PA system, announcing the 30 minutes are up and the exam is done. Relieved by the pop-up, one of the students leans on his sword totally gassed, just glad he can finally AFK. Chilling in the rubble of his room, Adrian is breathing heavy, noticing the absolute horde of mobs he had to sweat through. Overflowing with ego, the rival brags that he bagged around 40 monsters, thinking he didn't just beat the MC but basically clapped the whole school. The speaker tells everyone to leave their instances and group up in the main yard for the official scoreboard drop. Instantly, a massive crowd of anxious students groups up in the outdoor area of the school. In the middle of the mess, some noobs complain about how insanely tanky the metal mobs were, with one shyly admitting he only managed 15 kills. Strutting through the yard like he owns the place, the bully looks for the dark mage, guessing the kid rage quit. Soon enough, he spots his target just chilling in a corner, chatting with some school NPCs. Wasting zero time, the troll stomps over to him looking ready to throw hands. Acting like a total meathead, Adrian grabs the guy's shoulders, laughing at how he even had the nerve to stay logged in after that test. Keeping an unbreakable poker face, the young guy just brushes the hater's hand off his jacket without even getting mad. Staring him down, Pluto asks him ice cold if he already warmed up his vocal cords to bark in front of the whole server. Foaming at the mouth from the disrespect, the snob swears he can't wait to watch the necromancer crawl on the ground in pure shame. Up on the stage, the principal asks for everyone to mute their mics so he can officially drop the day's stats. He clarifies he's only showing the top 5 players, and the rest will have to check their DMs for their personal scores. The screen shows 5th place goes to Tristan Ashcroft with 39 eliminations, making the crowd gasp that such a low score made the cut. Taking advantage of the crowd's shock, Adrian leans in close to Pluto with a punchable smirk, bragging that his score completely gapped that. Next up, 4th place drops, Adrian Blackwood with 41 takedowns. He instantly tells the rival to hit the floor, but gets a cold reminder that the ceremony isn't over yet. Mad that he won't submit, the bully asks how a trash summoner could even dream of hitting the top 3. 3rd place goes to Luna Viermont with 77 wins, making her cheer while the crowd loses it seeing a support class pull such a cracked score. 2nd place goes to Colin Lancaster with 95 eliminations. He mutters about choking 1st place, making everyone wonder who the heck is number 1. The principal takes a deep breath, looking visibly stressed before dropping the MVP. Keeping a straight face, he announces the undisputed 1st place is Pluto, hitting a ridiculous 1,000 points. A complete dead silence drops over the entire yard. The shock is so crazy because the school's all-time high score had literally never passed 97 kills. The students start collectively losing their minds, finally understanding the terrifying gap of a 200 points genius. The 2nd place guy is mind blown, doing the math and realizing the kid had to wipe over 30 opponents every single minute to hit that. Completely frozen and sweating buckets, Adrian literally cannot compute the game-ending stat he just heard. The rich kid's face looks completely shattered, while his brain desperately tries to cope with the impossible. Going full panic mode, he grabs Pluto's jacket again, screaming that the scoreboard is definitely hacked. Keeping an ice-cold face with zero pity, the young guy just tells him the 1v1 is officially lost. Backing up shaking, the rival calls the necromancer a cheater, but immediately gets called out for just trying to dodge the ban. All around them, the other players start laughing, telling the loser to pay up and bark like a dog, absolutely loving seeing his ego get crushed. Unable to handle the L, Adrian drops to his knees on the grass, muttering that he's not accepting those stats no matter what. The crowd shows zero mercy and keeps trolling him, telling him to stop crying and hold the... Getting back on the mic, the principal announces the MVP is getting a super rare item sponsored straight by the Azure Dragon Guild. Walking to the stage, the young guy tells the loser to move, saying he doesn't waste breath on trash mobs. Watching the drama, the students point out the winner actually showed mercy by not dragging it out, since the bully wouldn't have hesitated to ruin him. Feeling completely humiliated, Adrian screams from the floor, promising to make the necromancer suffer 100 times worse and delete his account. Hearing the threat, Pluto stops walking and drops a terrifying death stare right over his shoulder. At that exact second, a massively intimidating magic skull aura erupts behind the MC. The sheer pressure of the aura makes the rival fall back screaming, completely stun-locked by pure terror. Satisfied with the silent threat, the boss turns his head back and keeps walking to claim his loot. Up on the stage, the guy walks to the admin table while the whole lobby watches. The boss greets him with a hyped smile, congratulating him for absolutely carrying the trial. The guy explains that since the kid's class was super niche, the guild pulled 3 different item options for him. Pointing at the glowing loot floating in the air, the director tells him to pick whichever one fits his build best. Pluto stares at the glowing gear super focused, checking the stats on each one before locking in. He instantly passes on the heavy armor and the big sword, knowing physical stat sticks are completely useless for his meta. With no other good options, he picks the arcane cloak, which auto-equips perfectly and glows bright. Feeling the mana buff, he gets hyped, calculating the item's magic boost will let him drop another 50 minions on the map at the same time. The admin raises the winner's hand, cementing the rookie's W in front of the whole server. The crowd goes wild, chanting the kid's name, making it a straight-up legendary moment. Taking in the applause, the necromancer cracks a small smile, loving the feeling of being the top player again. Wrapping up the event, the boss drops that the guild's pro tryouts are in exactly 1 month, telling everyone to keep grinding if they want a shot. Cutting away, the camera pans to a super rundown apartment complex, located in the broke side of town. Inside his cramped room, the guy is already in his combat gear, ready to launch the next phase of his speedrun. Holding the golden key he got from the master, he remembers the tutorial lessons about channeling mana to boot it up. The second the mana hits, the item reacts aggressively, throwing off crackling dark energy. A sketchy rift literally tears open the space right in the middle of his room, leaking heavy pressure everywhere. In his head, the sage's warning echoes loud, telling him to strictly party up with a tanky team before popping the key. But going full solo player mode, the guy just mentally says my bad to the old man for ignoring the warning. Walking into the magic portal alone, he states he only trusts his own skills to carry the runs. The fast travel drops him into a super bright rocky mountain biome, totally different from the dark dungeons he usually runs. Scoping out the new map, he instantly spots the mobs that control the zone. A pack of level 9 wildcats pops out growling from the rocks, and the kid notices they have low HP but make up for it with crazy fast movement speed. Knowing his build has zero physical defense, he figures the best strat is just to never let them enter melee range. Quickly, he raises his hand and spawns his shadow guards, telling them to form a hard wall around him. The bony squad spawns in a flash, throwing up a thick shield wall that totally blocks any gap. The cats rush the wall hard but get instantly pushed back by the guards' weapons, dropping a juicy 300 points per kill. Amazed by the crazy amount of XP normal mobs are dropping, the kid calculates he'll spawn the boss in record time. With his path totally clear, he pings his battalion to push deeper into the enemy map. Looking at his massive turtle formation, he notices a bunch of units are just AFK guarding him, deciding he needs to patch that weak spot ASAP to max out his DPS. Without taking a step back, one of the frontline units spikes a cat that got too close with its spear. The hit connects perfectly on the shadow beast, securing a fast kill and another 300 points. Thanks to the kill streak, the MC hits level 10, hyped to finally hit double digits. Right then he checks the UI and sees this milestone unlocked a brand new skill. The new ability drops a terrifying illusion that stuns any mob that looks at it for up to 5 seconds. Reading the patch notes, the guy sees the stun duration scales with level difference, meaning he can CC the enemies for free. But the mage quickly realizes why people call this skill trash. It has a ridiculous 24 hours cooldown for one single use. However, thanks to his removed limits, he gets super hyped realizing he can spam the fear spell infinitely as long as he has mana. Suddenly, a massive roar shakes the rocky map, snapping his attention forward. The king of the wildcats drops in, screaming aggressively at the skeleton wall. Surprised by the fast spawn, Pluto thinks it's weird to run into the zone boss this early. Reacting fast, he tells his squad to surround the giant boss and burst it down immediately. The brutal beast doesn't even flinch and charges in, shattering the bone units with heavy red aura attacks. The insane hit sends a bunch of his shadow minions flying, totally broken. The guy steps back, stunned by the boss's speed, realizing his meat shield is already collapsing. Watching his fighters get deleted, he calculates his whole army will wipe before they even touch the boss. Locking in, the young guy raises his weapon and channels a massive dark aura around him. A dark tornado quickly starts spinning over the arena. Full of confidence, the mage decides this is the perfect frame to test out his new CC spell. To make sure the beast looks the right way, he shouts, pulling the giant cat's aggro. The angry beast snaps its head around, confused by the kid's shout. Staring down the guy, the animal drops a scary roar, thinking it has the upper hand. But the mage just keeps a dead stare, waiting for the perfect split-second eye contact. Right then, the massive spooky illusion shoots its dark energy straight into the boss's brain. The fear debuff hits the Wildcat King perfectly, stun-locking its massive body instantly. Reading the play perfectly, Pluto calculates the boss's lower level guarantees the full 5 seconds of stun. Not stressing about the timer, he preps his nuke strat, already planning to cast another fear spell right after. Instantly, his bony soldiers morph into bombers holding huge explosives. With a flaming snap of his fingers, the MC greenlights the final attack. A brutal chain of explosions hits the stunned animal, dealing absolutely massive AoE damage. Inside the fire, the beast snaps out of the stun and lets out a deafening, pained scream. Seeing the fear wore off, the monster leaps furiously out of the flames right at the kid. Keeping his cool, the guy raises his sword again to combo the next attack. The giant beast flies through the air aggressively, ignoring the bomber units completely. In that exact critical frame, the giant dark illusion flashes in the sky, triggering the stun lock. Frozen mid-jump, the boss becomes an easy target and gets completely swallowed by another nuke. The zone boss drops dead instantly, leaving Pluto jaw-dropped at the absurd 30,000 points he just got in one drop. A level-up light wraps him, making him celebrate jumping 2 whole tiers in a single run. Checking his stats, he decides to hoard the points for now to focus on the real prize. The guy checks the notification that popped before the attack, remembering he unlocked another limit breaker. The The UI says he can now use a shadow form, making him literally immune to all physical and magic damage as long as it drains mana. Totally hyped, the young guy realizes he just got the most broken survival ability in the game. Walking through the empty map, he figures he has to dump even more points into his mana pool to keep the buff up longer. Mid-strategy thought, a crazy bright light pops out of nowhere, grabbing his attention. A yellow beam shoots out of the ground, making the guy pray to the RNG gods that he just pulled a mythic item on his first run. Meanwhile, in a super fancy building on the rich side of town, the vibe is extremely toxic. Chilling on his luxury sofa, the snob Adrian holds a glass while cursing his main rival's name. The memory of the terrifying death stare the mage gave him after the test is literally living rent-free in the bully's head. He boils with rage remembering how pathetically he got humiliated and forced to crawl on the grass in front of the whole server. Losing it to pure anger, the kid shatters the glass in his bare hand. A servant runs in terrified to help, but gets instantly ordered to clean the mess before the VIP guest arrives. Looking at his own cuts, the young guy swears he'll make the MC pay heavily for getting in his way. Right then, the head butler interrupts his villain monologue to announce the mysterious guest is here. The rich kid kicks the normal staff out of the room instantly, demanding 0 interruptions for the meeting. Acting like a boss, he tells the butler to bring the guy in and leave immediately. The doors swing open, showing a super intimidating dude walking in slowly with a glowing magic bow on his back. Outside, the staff whisper, terrified about how the young boss got mixed up with someone who looks that dangerous. The older worker drops a serious look and says calling that sniper dangerous is a massive understatement. The hooded guy walks the halls carrying the terrifying rep of having one-shot over 30 targets from miles away. Introducing himself as a class of lethal marksman, the mercenary states right away that his price doubles if the target is too high profile. Welcoming the guy, the boss promises the target is just some kid, making the merc roll his eyes a bit. The hitman just crashes on the fancy couch and casually guesses the target must be some hardcore veteran. The preppy boss stutters, a bit shook, not getting how the assassin read his mind so fast. Flashing a smirk, the assassin jokes it was pretty obvious, considering the client himself is also a combat class. Kicking his feet up on the furniture, the sniper guesses the target has to be a top-tier player if a high-ranking genius needs to outsource a carry. Visibly embarrassed, the snob looks away and angrily admits his rival's class is literally just bringing back dead guys. The assassin squints, totally confused, asking if he means that garbage class that takes forever just to summon one skeleton. Sweating from the embarrassment, the rival confirms it through gritted teeth. Hearing that ridiculous request, the hooded guy puts a hand over his face and starts chuckling. Completely losing it, the assassin busts out laughing, thinking it's hilarious a cracked fighter is begging for help against the worst class in the game. Triggered by the trolling, the rich kid screams that the target leveled up glitch-fast and even pulled the attention of the server's top guild. Hearing the name of the massive organization, the assassin stops laughing instantly and admits that messing with them changes the meta completely. The client closes his eyes, stressing out that the guy might drop the quest because of the aggro. But flashing a greedy smile, the sniper declares the only real change is going to be a ridiculously massive price hike for the hit. Cooling off, the rich heir coldly promises that money is absolutely no object to wipe the MC from them. The assassin turns his back, happy with the deal, asking only for a picture and basic stats to track the target down fast. Boiling with pure hate, Adrian demands the merc stop wasting time and permanently send his rival to the lobby. The kid guarantees he can drop premium intel, flexing that he has the exact live location since they're in the same class. Walking out, the shooter says that makes the run easier, but warns the whole account gets banned if the Azure Dragon Guild catches onto the griefing. Annoyed by the client's disrespect, the merc drops a terrifying look over his shoulder and coldly asks if his skill is being questioned. Shaking in fear from the massive aura, the kid puts his hands up terrified, stuttering that it was just a friendly reminder. Not caring about the excuse, the sniper trashes the kid, mockingly stating he doesn't need tips from a scrub who can't even handle a low-tier fight. Left alone in the room, the rich kid grinds his teeth full of rage, totally pissed about getting styled on again. Exhausted from the stress, he just collapses on the expensive couch, deciding to hold the L and stay quiet. Driven by insane obsession, the kid covers his face, convincing himself he doesn't care about the toxic disrespect, as long as the mage gets permanently deleted. While his name is getting cursed across town, the magic portal is just floating quietly in the MC's dark room. Inside the VIP zone, the system screen shows a newly dropped rare dagger that buffs speed and cuts teleport mana costs in half. Holding the glowing knife, Pluto knows the weapon is useless for his build, but decides to stash it to sell for a massive bag later. Checking his energy, he celebrates jumping 2 levels and unlocking broken skills, admitting he owes the master big time for the key. Happy with the loot run, the kid walks into the dark rift to fast travel home and finally get some sleep, remembering he has that huge draft interview tomorrow. The teleport magic tears through space, locking onto his home point with a heavy dark beam. Stepping hard, the kid's shoe hits his bedroom floor, officially ending his crazy grind session. Fully out of the portal, he looks around his tiny room and sighs, feeling like it's a cage compared to the massive open world he just left. Suddenly, the chill vibe is shattered by a brutal crash as the window totally explodes from a stealth attack. A blue light beam crosses the room at glitch speed, hitting the MC directly before he can even process the aggro. Standing on top of a building far away, the hooded sniper holds his glowing bow and coldly confirms the target was successfully sent to the lobby.